Hello, boils and ghouls. It's your old pal, John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper. And I want to welcome my good fiends of the Horror Heals podcast. Is horror good for mental wellness? But of course it is. I delight in the delicious deaths of pitiful people on the silver screen. So get ready for a hell of a good time with my new fiends, Corey and Kendall, on the Horror Heals podcast.
Welcome, Horror Heliacs. It's Corey, and today Kendall and I are summoning a brand new voice to the show. Literally her first podcast appearance. Kimberly Ramsawak is the creator of the Substack Horror Concierge and the founder of Horror and Her, where she helps women horror fans and creators turn their love of the macabre into movements. We start with Kimberly's horror origin story, with her dad showing her The Exorcist at age 6, yowza, and how she's using horror to empower women, celebrate diversity, and build community on Substack. We also get real nerdy about original storytelling, slow dread, and why we'll always take a weird horror flick over a bad rom-com any day. So grab that holy water, dim the lights, and settle in. This is Horror Heals, where the screams meet the cares. Hi, Kimberly. Welcome to the Horror Heals podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We're excited to have you. It's important to get a variety of voices in the horror community out there, and so that's kind of what we're trying to do with the show, with the focus of horror being good for mental wellness. So how do you relate to that, our thesis or our concept of horror and mental wellness positivity?
Yeah, it'll make sense if I get into my horror origin story. My name is Kimberly Ramsawak, and I am the creator of a horror Substack newsletter that I started back in January called Horror Concierge. I created this newsletter just to combine my two loves of writing and horror. It's for women horror fans and horror creators, where I talk about how horror movies and books are used as great tools for women empowerment and reinvention. Through that, I created my fairly new business just a couple of months out the box called Horror and Her, where I help women horror creators sort of build their Substack newsletters into unforgettable movements. So based on that, my love of horror has, as far as back, I think my key horror origin story was when I was, and my dad put The Exorcist. He put The Exorcist and he put Michael Jackson's Thriller on for my sister and I. And I remember going to West Coast Video because that was a family tradition. And he picked up The Exorcist, Jackson's Thriller. And we saw it. I was 6 years old when we saw it. I remember my mother saying to him, like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah. And he's like, they're going to sit down and they're going to watch it. And I'm going to teach them that as two girls, they shouldn't be afraid of anything. And that has started my sister and I's passionate obsession.
I love that. I know Kendall and I have a similar story, and we were probably maybe around the same age of that, but we both snuck out of our rooms when the TV version of Exorcist was playing, and he hid behind the couch and I was around the corner. It's just the noises alone were like, oh my goodness.
And to this day, those noises are still so damn creepy. Like, the movie is it's my top favorite horror movie of all time to this day.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that you and your sister kind of got this lifelong love of horror at such a young age, but what was that like watching it that first time? Like, would you have nightmares?
No. I remember looking at it like, my mouth open, my eyes like wanting to cover your eyes, are like, what the hell? Like, in my mouth, what the hell? And just being hooked. Like, that feeling of just the adrenaline and your heart pumping. And it's like going on a roller coaster, right? Like, you're scared as hell, but you like, okay, again. I watch the goriest of the gory, the violent of the violent, like types of horror. It's my thing. So
what are some of the things that make The Exorcist your favorite?
It was done in 1973, right? So I think to this day, across any horror subgenre, that, and this is slow burn, right? Nothing really happens for a good 45 minutes of the movie. So one could say this movie is boring as hell. But the slow dread that it's so visceral, and it's a slow burn, but it feel like you're immersed in it, like a virtual reality, because the dread. And then now, as an adult, and I love the correlation between horror movies and women's empowerment. To think of a woman, the mother, who is coming to her house, and they always show the scene of the door closed, and you're in your own house and having the dread of like, I don't want to go upstairs and I don't want to open the door. And it's your child and you can't do a damn thing about it. And you can't change how you feel. It's completely out of your control. It's just, I don't think any movie has been able to match that dread from both the mother's point of view, from Reagan's point of view. It's just so palpable. It's so good. It's so good.
When people really nail us down, are like, okay, what is your absolute favorite? I think Kendall and I both agree that The Exorcist is definitely there. And we even have a little Exorcist display at our breakfast area.
We have a cool bust of Reagan, and it's creepy looking on its own. But then we decorate her like she wears a Santa hat at Christmas.
It's just so dramatic and it's so theatrical. And it's really rare for a movie that slow to keep your attention and really be at.
I absolutely adore your Substack. You're very prolific and love getting the new emails from you on the regular. So thank you for doing that. And Kendall and I think it's so important that we're seeing things happen, diversity in the genre. But, you know, we definitely need more voices, more women's voices, more people of color, more queer voices. And so we advocate for that all the time, you know, because if you think about historically, all three of those groups were not necessarily treated very well in horror. And then we'll get to our final question later, but we ask, the last question is, who's your favorite final person? Because we want to be as inclusive as we possibly can. And we appreciate the final girl trope, and final girl gets mentioned a lot in the episodes, but we like to say final person. Talk to me a little bit about what you see, like what you're doing specifically to kind of help empower women interested in horror into building their online presence.
I had never heard of Substack before January. And how I got picked to it was there was a business coach that I follow, and she said that she's transitioning everything from social media, from Instagram and Facebook, over to Substack because she loves writing. And I said, well, I love writing, so let me just check it out. And I started reading her newsletter, and it just, one day I was just like, you know what, I was watching a horror movie, as I always do. I said, you know what, let me just start playing around and writing what I think about horror movies. And Horror Concierge came to mind because all my friends and family, they always ask me, like, what horror movie are you watching? What should I watch this weekend? What should I, what's out? What's the hidden gem? So I'm like, oh, I'll be the Horror Concierge. And so it started off just me recommending horror movies and books. And then as I started getting more into it and the months started passing by, women writers in horror that have a newsletter on Substack started DMing me. And they're like, oh my gosh, I love your stuff. And, I love how you write, but I'm scared to put, I'm a lawyer by day and I have 2 kids and I love gory horror, but I'm scared to write about what I want to write about. And I'm like, why? And I started getting a lot of those DMs from women who already have newsletters, but are like dormant, not posting a lot, or have really great newsletter premises, but, they have whatever kind of internal block, or they're really great writers as far as books, but they're kind of stuck in the newsletter world. So that's when I started really diving into, okay, let me display how I view horror movies through the lens of women's empowerment. So I started featuring a horror movie a month, just doing the parallels between whatever happening in the movie and sort of a women empowerment theme, whether it's resilience or leadership or gaslighting or whatever it is. And it just started growing and growing. I said, okay, I'm onto something here. And I just went all in. And, I've already been watching horror movies, but to sort of look at it from this lens. And I was already like cheering, like whenever a woman does something really cool in the horror movie. So I'm like, okay, let me channel that into my writing. So that's how the whole thing started.
Very cool. How has the last 10 or so months, the climate in the country sort of affected your purview of horror?
I don't watch the news. I love horror movies. I don't want to like combine, I have enough with the horror movies. I don't need like the real life horror movie. I feel like whatever's going on, whether it's internally or externally, that horror movies and books can be used as a way to deal with it. The American Journal of Psychology said that during COVID, horror fans were more resilient. They had better mental health dealing with COVID because we've already seen all the zombie movies. We've already seen all the drama that could possibly happen. Like COVID was nothing new to us,
Right.
you know? So, I mean, I feel like if you're a horror fan, okay, I already got like my survival kit. I already know, like you already know how to deal with it. I feel like for horror fans, it's nothing new, nothing like earth-shattering.
Yeah, no, I mean, we have to be resilient, for sure, because we're all weirdos and outsiders, or felt that way, and horror is definitely a huge outlet for us to not feel that way, or just be in a community of weirdos.
Whatever I call my community horror concierge, but I've always felt weird, and I've always sort of hidden my, like, internally, my friends and family know I love horror, and they know like I'm obsessed with it, but like in corporate America, in outside where I've always sort of like hidden that because I'm a professional Black woman, I'm a feminine, and I'm not supposed to like horror, so
Yep.
I've always had like this, I don't know. But then the more and more I meet women, like my son goes to a private Montessori school, and the director of the program, she's, in her late 60s, early 70s, and she's British. And she found my newsletter and she goes, I'm subscribing to it. And I'm like, really? And I hate when people say that to me. So when I did it to her, I was like, I can't believe I just did that to her. Can't believe I just did that to her.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I love horror. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. And she's like, come to my office. Come to my office. So I go into her office and she calls the door and she pulls up her shirt. And on her back is tattoos of Freddy and Frankenstein. And I'm just like, get the hell out of here. It's so cool to see horror fans who you wouldn't think would be horror fans.
Yep.
And I'm such an advocate for that because we're everywhere.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know how often you go to horror events, but I mean, you definitely see all walks of life, there. And all ages. I mean, you're seeing like infants to grandmas in wheelchairs, so they're having a good old time.
Yeah, love it. Now, my son, unfortunately, he does not. I try, but he does not. He's not a horror fan.
No? Not getting into it?
No, I think the most we'll do is Five Nights at Freddy, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you and your sister still share movies to check out and books and things like that?
Oh yeah. We talk about horror all the time. And I will say I'm more of a more prolific horror fan than she is. She can't do anything gory or anything super, like torture porn, like that stuff. She can't do that stuff. And she doesn't really do international horror. I am such a fan of international horror, especially Asian horror. So I'm across the board.
Yeah, we're all over it too, for sure.
Corey, what were we watching the other night? And I had to stop. I had to go. It was that where the kid was by
Bring Her Back.
Bring Her Back, yeah.
Where the little boy's chewing on the knife.
And I know it's fake, obviously, but I'm just like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. So our other podcast is about DNA surprises. And so we found Kendall's birth family, 8+ years ago. And so, and we're really, really close with his oldest sister on his birth mother's side. And two of her best friends are nurses. And so we kind of have our nurse chat. And they started asking for recommendations. And I got to be a little careful, like how I curate, because the first one was weapons, and then the next one was Bring Her Back. I'm like, maybe children in peril movies. Maybe we should, for NICU nurses.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to bring Kendall's sister kind of into our world, and she told us, I think early on when we met, that like she loved the Bates Motel remake show and stuff. So we already knew she was already kind of like could handle it. But yeah, I mean, I'm giving them some pretty extreme movies to check out.
Yeah. I love extreme horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're recording this on kind of an exciting day. Fridays are when new movies come out, but today is the release of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Have you already watched it?
No, not yet.
Us either. It just literally came out today, but yeah, this is one we've been really looking forward to for a long time. Yeah.
I'm actually looking forward to the Predator Badlands that came out. It's coming out. Yeah.
And it's getting great reviews. I love seeing where it's not just like, okay, another sequel, another whatever. Like this one looks totally wild and crazy. And I'm glad they're keeping that going. I think studios are starting to realize like, oh, horror fans are very clever. They like a good story. It doesn't just have to be like slasher every 10 minutes, an exciting kill. They're willing to like have that build up for a half an hour or so before things get bonkers. Weapons doesn't get crazy until like the last 20 minutes, to where I would watch it and I'm like, okay, this is a horror movie.
Well, good. That's my top one so far for 2025.
Wow.
So far.
That's good.
Yeah, love it. Love it. And I love that it was a hit. And now we've got this new iconic horror villain too. Just
I'm glad it's love her.
absolutely.
And I don't really, a movie was, I mean, would I like her backstory? Sure. It would be the cherry on top. Do I really need it? No. I think the movie was, it just ended with such a nice little bow. It was so good.
Same. I don't think we needed it. And, you know, honestly, I don't think we necessarily needed the Black Phone sequel. I don't know if you liked it or not. I didn't love it.
From what I saw from the trailers, they kind of like turning him into Freddy, like a Freddy. I will go check it out.
I mean, it's certainly worth a watch. And of course, it was a hit. So they're going to try to see what they could do for the sequel. But it was the source material was a pretty short story as it is. So like they really had to beef it up for the first one. And there was nothing in that story that would make you think that it was going to get supernatural or more supernatural than it did. You know, like you said, creating a new Freddy. But the world needs Freddy. And we've got just this last month, Robert Englund and John Carpenter getting their stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's like way overdue. Thank goodness we're starting to see this more. I think horror is starting to get a little bit more respected. And are you getting the sense of that with people that you're in communication with, the women who are, you know, horror creators?
I think a lot of non-horror fans are saying, oh, I actually saw Substance and I saw Weapons and I saw Sinners, because they don't think those are horror movies. And I'm like, they're actually are horror movies. But if, hey, anyway, they could, you know, we could convert, I'll take it.
Yes.
I'll take it. But I think those three movies are like, oh, it's so good. It was so good. And a lot of non-horror fans are telling me, like, Sinners, it's not really a horror movie. It's just a drama about that time with racism, and it just happened to have vampires. And I'm like, actually, no, it's pretty horror movie.
You could be describing a lot of horror movies right now as far as like, oh yeah, it had a little bit of a ghost element to it, but it was just a drama. I'm like, no, it's a horror. I mean, you could certainly cross genres, but yeah, I think it's like when some people who aren't fans and they hear horror, you probably think of like 80s slashers or old school like Universal monsters and stuff. I'm just like, not my thing. There's so much more to it.
Yeah, and that's what I love about us horror fans. We know there's so many different facets and permutations. And I personally think I would rather watch a bad horror than a bad comedy or a bad drama or a bad whatever other horror movie genre, because this is just so many different ways a horror movie could go. And it could be super intellectual and it could be super campy and everything in between. And I think that horror is that genre that could only do that.
Yes. I think rom-coms just about make me want to gag. So like, that is not my thing. Like, it can be well done and I can appreciate it, but 10 minutes that I'm good.
Yeah, me too.
Just give us a few specifics on how you've been helping women with their Substacks and getting their newsletter A game.
Sure. Yeah. So Horror and Her is a business I created where it's all through coaching, just newsletter coaching. And I have just starting to launch digital programming courses and one-on-one and group coaching, where it's not teaching you how to write, because these women are phenomenal storytellers or phenomenal writers, but it's just sort of honing in and structuring their writing so that their newsletters go. I mean, I think a lot of them have great newsletter hooks and point of views, but it's just helping them to hone that in so that it really has their particular unique horror voice can really shine through, and their newsletter can really stand for something, because everyone writes a horror movie review newsletter. Horror, you know, and horror movie reviews, a horror movie review is a horror movie. Book reviews, a book review is a book review. But what is, especially as a woman who historically hasn't had a voice in horror other than tripping and falling in like short shorts and a t-shirt, like, what, you have a unique horror voice. So let's, instead of not saying you can't do a movie review, but what about that movie? What do you want to say through that? What is your platform? Always say that what is your hill to die on? What is your something that you're putting that you can't shut up about? And why do you love horror to begin with as a woman? And why are you even choosing to write about it to begin with? So bringing in their personal, their obsessions, their fascinations, their fears to really help them develop a point of view so that their newsletter could stand out. and build and grow those subscribers and readership.
Love that. Love that so much. With someone with their finger on the pulse right now and knowing, the history of horror, what do you see? What do you envision happening in the next 5 years as far as diversity in horror, and what would you love to see in the next 5 years?
What I would love to see is no more remakes, even if it's good. Even if it's good, like we're done.
I agree.
Original storytelling. So while I thought Bring Her Back was okay, I give it higher marks because it was an original story. Movies like Talk to Me, Weapons, Sinners, like completely original, completely out of the box. And I think over the last decade or so, we've kind of lost like really good original storytelling. Like, yes, the movie may be great, may have great action, great gore, great creatures, but the storyline of, I had something else before. It's not really that thought out. There are, plot holes or whatever. And I think in the early 2000s, even though everyone's like, it's campy and it's cheesy, those were some original storytellings. Like Dusk Till Dawn, everyone's comparing Dusk Till Dawn and Sinners. I'm like, two different movies, but okay. But Dusk Till Dawn was like that same thing. Like, you didn't really know it was a vampire movie until it was a vampire movie. So I hope as we go into next year and beyond, we just get out of the box, brand new, and also bring back, when was the last time you had a really good werewolf movie, a really good zombie movie, a really good creature feature movie, bringing back those sort of dormant subgenres that we haven't seen in a very long time.
One of my favorite voices in the last decade for horror, and who knew that he was going to become such a huge voice, is Jordan Peele, who has also been involved with producing some remakes. And I liked the Candyman film that came out a few years ago.
I did.
What are your feelings about People Under the Stairs being remade?
I'm going to see it, yes. And I'm always going to go see a horror movie, no matter what. Yeah. I'm always going to go see it. But I'm just like, okay, do we need a remake? But then also, you could also argue it's a hidden gem that deserves to come to new light and to give it respect. And so people go back and watch the original. So I do see it from that angle. But I'm just like, okay, but Jordan Peele, like, you gave us Get Out. Like, like there has to be something in those brain cells something brand new,
Yes. Yeah. And hopefully whoever had the concept for the story is like, oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, we got to do that. And it very well could be. And of course we'll see it too, but it's like, we just watched the original maybe 3 or 4 months ago. Yeah. And it's just such a bonkers, crazy movie. It's like, you can't recreate that.
I agree. Did you watch it on Tubi? Was it on Tubi that you saw the old?
I think it probably was.
Yeah. I think Tubi is doing, I always say, everyone's always saying, what streaming service should I get to watch horror? And I'm like, listen, Netflix is great for if you like international horror. Shudder, if you're a horror fan, it's mandatory to have. Tubi is coming, is the MVP for me for this year. I mean, they have everything and anything, like things I have never even heard of or seen before.
Right. Yep.
They're even surprising me with stuff. Like I just saw Audrey Rose with a 1972 movie with Anthony Hopkins. Mm-hmm. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, Tubi is doing it right. And there's not a crazy amount of commercials too. Like there's enough, like if you need to go get another glass of water or you need to pee or something like that, great. Let the kids understand what we had to go through growing up watching movies and stuff. But yeah, you're right. And Tubi's getting into original horror programming now too, which is interesting. Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what happens with horror and streaming in the next 5 years, just because we're seeing so many things change right now and everybody's seeing there's a lot of chatter about on Tubi and horror, and it's free. So you're getting to see decades of amazing movies, like you said, and they're finding stuff that's like out of print and things like that you just hadn't heard of. So Kimberly, we love this question. Who is your favorite final person in a horror film?
My favorite final person in a horror film is Naru from Prey. I love her. I love her. Because you see, and every final person, the reason why they're a final person is not because they just survive and make it to the end. Because you see their arc, you see their evolution from victim to not even knowing they were a victim, to having awareness that they're a victim, to taking back control and then finally defeating it. So you see their transformation as a human being. But with Naru and Prey, she's fighting so many different internal and external tropes and stereotypes and norms and expectations. And as a person and as a woman, and and she's expected to just stay home and hunt berries and cook and do medicine, and she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to do that, and you can see how she doubts herself, and then how she comes back stronger, and at the end where she becomes the chief, the tribal chief, because she defeats the predator. It's just chef's kiss. And there's a scene where after she defeats the predator, she does like this tribal chant that is typically the men do, and then she does it, and it's just, my heart just, it's so good, it's so good, it's so good. So she's my favorite final person. I love the predator. And I'm looking forward to seeing this new Badlands, because I heard that they feature, it's not like a human fighting the predator. It's the predator as a final person, as a final girl, as a final person. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they do that, because we're rooting for the predator in this new one. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they do.
Yeah, the trailer's amazing, and the reviews that have been coming in, definitely a cool one to see on the big screen. Awesome. Again, we love your Substack. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for helping women find their horror voice through Substack and newsletters and stuff. It's important. This has been great. I'm so glad we got to connect.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much. Love your podcast.
My
favorite episode is the Dee Wallace's episode.
We'll have to have her back on for sure. Kimberly, huge thanks for joining us and for making your podcast debut with Horror Heals. Your work with Horror Concierge and Horror and Her is proof that horror isn't just about what scares us, it's about what shapes us. Heliacs, go subscribe to Kimberly's Substack, follow her work, and tell us your favorite final person in the comments or on social. We'll be back next time with more chills, catharsis, and community. And remember, when people ask, is horror good for mental wellness? You say, of course it is. The Horror Heals podcast is produced and presented by How the Cow Ate the Cabbage, LLC.